Welcome to the Two Beasts podcast, where best friends Chris and Ollie try and figure out this complicated thing we call life. We hope you enjoy.
That's video, that's why.
Are you taking a photo of it?
There we go.
Gang, gang.
Nice.
There we go. Ollie's just taking a photo of episode 2. It's episode 2, even though we've actually recorded 3 now, because
This is the third, technically, in a weird sort of backwards, sort of Back to the Future type deal.
yeah, because Luke Romeo Rome's was down for a wedding this weekend, so we filmed one on Friday night, and he was here, and we chatted for about
Hour and a half, more like
hour and a half.
Yeah. That'll be episode 5.
But that'll be episode 5. We wanted to do a couple of episodes first before we had guests on, just so that... Don't really know why, to be honest, but it just feels like that way we're not setting the precedent that we've got to get guests on every 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it would be weird to go from what we did as the first episode, which was just like a load of ramble introductions, to then go straight into a guest. I feel like it's better that we have a few episodes of us
Yeah.
explaining things and talking about
Ollie
stuff.
just wants to be
and
on
then go
camera
straight
more.
in. Oh, 100%.
Yeah, he just wants to be on...
Yeah, I can't not lie.
He just thinks that people need to see more Ollie content.
Hey, the stats don't lie, mate.
The stats
don't lie.
I mean,
When it comes to my work,
we don't have stats
Instagram
at the
doesn't
moment, but
We don't.
I'm pretty sure that by the time this podcast releases, our stats will be like 0 still.
yeah, probably.
So the stats...
Or maybe 1 or like 2. And that'll be my mum and your dad.
Yeah, oh, my mum would definitely be listening.
Or your mum will be listening, you know what I mean? Like,
My mum would
yeah.
definitely be listening.
Yeah, it's one of they. So,
She can't bloody help herself.
no, mothers are like that, aren't they, unfortunately?
Well, see, this is episode 2, technically. This is the second time that we've set up. When Luke came here, he had some extra cameras and stuff because he was here on business. So this is our second time doing the setup. We made a lot of mistakes last time, which was to be expected because it's the first go at things, and first go at things is normally a bit pants.
And by first go, we mean literally in 10 minutes.
Yes.
It was a proper...
To be fair, the only thing
First timer.
one of the mistakes that I think we made was that we said that we literally thought of this idea 30 minutes ago, and I think it was actually more like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, it was way less, yeah.
I
mean, we toyed with the idea for a long time, but never just committed to it. But in terms of going from saying it and then committing to it,
Yeah.
as in doing the first episode, yeah, it was like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It was a case of we're doing a podcast, and it was then.
What-
The
yeah.
setup took us 10 minutes, and that was it.
Yeah.
We've also got this big ass light.
We've got this light now,
got a
so
big
that's
ass
the other
light,
thing. Yeah,
yeah.
there's a big ass light. When I did the podcast, when I set it up last time, I wanted to keep it as easy as possible so that we could, we could just set it up super quick and it not be a big burden every week. And the light is like a big film set light. It's absolutely huge, and it is a bit of a burden. So I thought if I can get away with not having it, I'll try that. But obviously, your seat there for the it doesn't matter if you listen to podcasts and you don't ever watch the video, but
Yeah.
your seat there is right in front of a big bay window, and that does cause some issues with light. Now, admittedly, the smart thing to do would probably just close the curtains, but as you can see if you're watching the video, we don't have the best decorated house in the world. We're not interior decorators or anything like that, so I like the window being there. I like the outside, bit of greenery, bit of lovely light coming through.
Every little helps, innit, really?
Yeah.
As they say.
But if we either have the outside be super too bright or Ollie super too dark, but now with the light, we can light him up and we can balance him a bit prettier.
Best of both worlds, isn't it, then? At that
The
point?
biggest fuck up was that I was completely in the wrong seat last time.
Yeah, you were sat way too far this way.
I was sat in basically the middle of the couch, and so on my dedicated close-up angle, I was in the extreme wrong side of the frame,
Yeah, you were too far right.
which is frustrating, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Can't
just
film
give
it
up.
again.
You can't just give up, can you?
Can't film again. Do you know what, on that point, I actually had, after we'd filmed that episode last night, no, 2 nights ago, I had a nightmare that night.
Oh no.
And it was to do with the fact that you then said, I can't remember whether it was something to do with we'd lost the footage or something.
Oh,
And we've got to refilm it.
yeah.
And you're like, with podcasts, you can't refilm it. It's not scripted.
No.
Like, what are you going to do? We're not going to like say exactly the same thing. So,
No chance.
yeah, that was pretty scary. And then I
Yeah.
woke up and realised that wasn't the case, thankfully. So,
Yeah, and pretty much this. Like, even if you ask the same questions, it would just be way.
It'd
different,
be completely different. The
The
way
whole
you're
point-
wording it, the whole shebang. The way the conversation flows is completely different. So,
Yeah, it's scary, but it will happen at some point. Like there will be some technical issue, technical fault.
Oh, for sure.
We'll lose
Yeah.
an episode for
Yeah.
sure. It'll never be
episode
happen.
or 2, I would imagine. There's
Or
not
like,
gonna be,
we'll come away and we'll realise, oh, these mics weren't recording, or
yeah.
something nonsensical like that. It happens. It happens, troops. It happens. That's why you need, a professional to like be dedicated on the stick. So we don't have that. We just literally set these up.
Yeah.
And
We need our own young Jamie.
we need our own young
need.
Jamie. We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Anyone out there that fancies being a producer in the long term?
For free.
For free?
For absolutely no
Yeah,
money.
literally nothing.
No
You're going to have to
clout.
spend your entire Sunday in our house, in our company. So,
We just want, like everyone else, we just want free labour, and we want
Now.
you to do it like you love it.
Yeah.
Even though you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
And your family's starving to death.
yeah. Voluntary is the best way.
Yeah. So what have you been up to this week?
What have I been up to this week? Working. Same old. I was in Reading this week. That was fun. And because my van was in the garage, I had to go on the train. That's never fun.
What's happened with that van?
My van is it's a bit of a passion project and a side thing.
Good job.
Yeah. It's basically I bought this van about, where are we now? June. So 3 months ago, or we're July now, 4 months ago. And it was all converted. It's all amazing, so that I can, I don't have to stay in hotels every time I'm away, especially if I'm in a nice place. And it was all going well. And then probably a month after I'd had it, stuff started going wrong under the engine, around the engine. So I've had to replace the head gasket. I've had to do a clutch and flywheel recently. Service, cam belt, water pump. Basically, it's a 2023 Transporter in a 2004 shell. It's like how I sort of think about it right now. The only thing that I haven't done with it is like turbo, battery. There's a lot of things.
The battery's a pretty small one. Though,
Batteries are pretty easy, yeah.
So
but
basically,
like,
all the small jobs you haven't done, but all the big jobs you've had to do.
pretty much. Yeah, I mean, unless, especially like engine-wise, I can't think of much. And there's probably loads of other stuff that goes into an engine and stuff. Like the gearbox, like that could have gone. That hasn't gone, luckily. But yeah, so that was in the garage, getting its clutch and flywheel done. So I had to get the train up, which is always like, when you think about a train, right, you always think, I can sit there and I can do some work and it's going to be nice and it's relaxing. And it's just not. I just don't know what it is. It's just not. It's just not what you think. You sit there and you're like, you're on your phone and you're like, oh, they've got Wi-Fi on the train and it's shit. Like, you can barely load a picture on Instagram, and you're just like, well, this sucks. So, so that's why I was in and out of coming up with the theme music actually for the the pod. I was basically like, had to wait until I had decent 4G and it was flopping out 5G or whatever. And I just wasn't a fan. I could do it every now and again as something different, but yeah. And then I'd sort of realised how far the train station was away from the hotel, which was like 10 minutes, which was fine. I took my longboard with me and I longboarded down. That was fine. Then when I had to go to the wall on the Monday morning, that was way further than I thought.
Oh.
Like way further. And I started, because I'd done it in the car a few times, I was like, it can't be that far. Surely it can't be that far. And I started doing it and I was like, shit, this is going to take me a long ass time. So I did it on the Monday there and back, and then I got a mate to give me a lift on the Tuesday, so that was fine. But yeah.
All for this van.
All for the van, man.
So the van has cost you, how much you buy it for?
9,700.
And then how much have you spent on it
Not
in repairs?
£970, obviously, 9,700. 9,700. Yeah. How much have I spent on it? Too much. Probably in the region of like 3 or 4 grand.
Okay, that's better than what I thought. I thought it would be like 5.
Yeah.
Don't
My
forget-
whole thing, right? So like, when I bought the van, I was kind of in two minds. So you either pay the thing with buying a van, especially a converted van nowadays, is they cost a lot of money, right? They're not cheap by any stretch of imagination because everyone and their mum wants one, to take their kids away or whatever, and take their kids away on holiday and all that sort of stuff. Especially a transporter, like a VW transporter, they're well sought after. It's a bit like having. It's a bit like having an app, like an iMac or like a MacBook or an iPhone or whatever. You're paying because it's Apple. You don't pay because it's it's the same thing with the transporter. You pay because it's a VW transporter, right? You pay for the name. So that's part of it. So that's already more expensive than what you're going to find. And I found this one, and like I was kind of umming and ahhing about whether I should buy one that was fully converted, but then potentially run the risk that the engine stuff was going to be a problem, or I buy a van that under the engine it's all bomb-proof, but then I have to do the entire conversion myself, or pay someone an astronomical amount of money to convert it for me. And currently, with the busiest man that I am, or the busy man that I am, I don't have time to sit on my drive and use power tools and build an entire conversion in the back of a van.
No.
So I went for the fully converted option, and unfortunately it was it's had these issues. Which, when you buy a car privately, is the risk you run, right?
It is
Like,
a risk.
unless you go fully new, brand new, as soon as you buy something off someone else, it's always a risk.
I mean, you were having a big fucking. You couldn't catch a break. You were getting
Oh, it was constant.
like every week. It felt like there was a letter addressed to you that said PCN on it.
Oh yeah, there was also that.
Yeah, he
there
had
was that
two.
period.
He had two. So he's just bought this van.
Oh man.
He just bought this van, which it was a big investment, and it's one of those where it's like.
I was excited because I've wanted a van for years. I've
Yeah.
wanted a converted van and that kind of lifestyle for years, right?
Yeah.
And I'd this is it, man. This is going to be it, and and then life just continuously just held me down and kicked me in the bollocks until now, basically. That's kind of where we're at. So I've got a very sore set of testes when it comes to my bank account, basically.
You get a van that's all nice and converted. The head gasket starts playing up, going. That takes a couple
Was that
of weeks.
the first thing? Well, I had the service and water pump done, which was like $1,000.
Yeah.
So that was cam belt and water pump. So that was like $1,000 straight off the bat. That had to be done. But I knew that when I bought the van. That's why I got it cheaper than what it was put up for. So I knew that was coming. And then, literally a month later, it started. I drove up to Swansea, and I had to jumpstart a friend's van using my van. It was only when my mate turned around and went, "You've got no coolant in your van," and I was like, "Yeah, that's not good. That's not a good thing." So and
So if it wasn't for that, you wouldn't have actually.
I would have known, and then it could have blown the entire engine up, and then that would have been it.
Jesus.
That would have been
That would have been
game
right
set
off.
match. That would have been a new engine, which I dread to even think the price of that, to be honest.
Would you have done it if it was a new engine?
I would have had to,
Yeah.
probably. And that because I could have sold the shell, but then I would have been like however much down on, the amount of money I put into it.
Yeah, you would have scrapped it for like
Yeah,
$1,000.
yeah. But it's like like you were saying then. So then I had that, and then I can't remember what came next. It was probably not long after that. I think I had, or it might have been around. I think. Do you know what? I think it was actually around that same weekend when I went to Swansea that I had that speeding ticket. So I had that come through.
Oh, the speeding ticket. I forgot about the speeding ticket.
Yeah, so the speeding ticket was on the first that time around, and then. Yeah, that was on the Saturday. Then on the Sunday, I found out that obviously I had no coolant, so then was that, and it was just like a cycle of stuff. And then to be like kicked in the nuts again.
I hope you're bringing up what I was going to bring up.
What was that?
No, you go for it.
Was about the fact that I couldn't get the speed awareness course.
Oh, that wasn't it, but that is an additional.
So I had like a speeding ticket 3 years ago, thinking that I'd then get 3 point I'd get another speed awareness course.
Yeah.
And then I didn't, so that's 3 points and £100 fine.
And you were just a couple weeks off that too. It was such
it must
a cheat.
have been. It must have been, yeah. But then some people have told me that it's now potentially 4 years or 5 years that they wait. It's not 3 years, but I don't know. I hadn't actually researched that. But
it's been so long.
Anyway, if it was 3 years, I was probably like a few weeks or a few days or something removed. So then was that. Then I got the head gasket fixed, so that was a lot of money. And then after that came. Then when I drove it to London for work, and I had the double.
The double ULEZ.
emissions. Yeah, the
I think
emissions
there was something
fine.
before the WLEZ.
Was there?
Yeah.
Am I missing something now?
I think you lost your mind and decided to put a brick through your own window.
Oh man, I forgot about that.
That's what I was waiting for you to bring up.
Oh gee,
You
mate,
pushed that one out of your head. You didn't
that
want
was
to remember
a story in and of itself.
that. So what happened? You locked your keys
Oh man.
and your phone in the van.
So I was having a beautiful evening, man. It was so nice. I had this amazing view. Sat in my van, like I just cooked my dinner or whatever. I sat there with a beer, sat there literally like this, like staring at this view. I'm like, this is amazing. And we're probably talking, it's probably like 9:30 at night at this point, right? Sun's just gone down. And I'm parked sort of in this lay-by, but I'm like in the middle of the lay-by, and I thought I'd like pull back and just like tuck my van in a bit more so that it was out of the way. So, and for whatever reason, right, and I have no idea, there was probably a man sat on the board of directors in VW, and they thought, you know what, we're going to add to this van. What we're going to do is we're going to have this thing where if you leave the keys in the van and you shut the door, it locks. I mean, what? Who at VW thought that was a good idea? Probably got paid thousands of like euros.
Is it not just that you're like the feature? Because surely there's a feature that stops that from happening that maybe just broke because it's an old van.
I don't think so. I think it's a genuine thing. Like apparently it's not even, since then I found out that it's not even just VWs that do it. A lot of older vans do it and a lot of old cars do it, yeah. So anyway, I was like, I'll just get out quickly, and thinking that, I mean, I didn't really think about my keys, I left my phone on the side because I was like, I'm literally just going to run out and jump in the driver's side and reverse it. So I got out, thinking nothing of it, and I basically, as I close the sliding door, right, I close it, and I hear this, and I'm like, that sounds like the lock. So then there's like this immediate setting of like, oh fuck. Like, you just think like, and then luckily, because of a lot of things I've done, mentality wise and mindset wise, I didn't like lose my shit too much, like I would have done, like, crying or whatever. Didn't cry, proper manned it out. And so I basically just like.
No, you didn't cry because you were stupid. You didn't cry you were stupid.
I was ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, I caused it on myself, right? So crying is not going to make it any different. Like, no. I caused this, so I tried like everything, right? I was trying to like open every door. I seen if I could like do it to the point where I was probably almost going to break the lock on the side of the van door. So I did that. And I was like, well, that's it. It's like, can't do anything. This lay-by is in like, there was then thinking like, okay, how far is the nearest house down the road? Like, can I ring someone? My phone's in like, I've got nothing. I'm literally in my shorts, my t-shirt, my shoes. I have nothing else, right? I don't have my keys. I don't have my wallet. I don't have my phone. I haven't got anything. So basically I was like, it's not many houses nearby. It's going to be quite a run down the road to like find someone. And, so I went, right, you want stuff in for it. I'm going to have to smash the window.
Now, so you smashed the window.
Passenger windows. That was another thing. I was trying to decide which window I was going to smash. I'm not going to smash the driver's side, because then I've got to deal with that when I'm driving. I wasn't going to smash the rear window, because then it'd be all in my bed, and then I'd be sleeping in glass. Like, that'd be fun. Couldn't really do the side windows. So it's going to have to be the passenger.
So you go to smash the passenger window. Before you carry on.
Yeah.
I want anybody listening to this to just take a second to guess how much that would cost. Okay? Because admittedly, when you're isolated, you're completely on your own. There's no help. You haven't got a phone, you haven't got a wallet. You're in the middle of nowhere. You can't go and find anyone. There's no one around but you. You have no other options. You know you're smashing a window.
Yeah.
To me, I'd be like, okay, well, I've written off in my head it's going to cost me X amount and a bit of time. So,
that X amount was,
Have you all now decided on a price in your mind of how much you think this would cost? Right. How much did it cost you to smash that passenger window?
In total?
In total.
£530. Do you know what's even worse, right? So I smashed the window. Again, this is probably, we're talking like 9:45 at night. So it's going dark. So I smashed the window, and I had to do it with like this big like block of something that I found in the car park. Luckily, there was something big enough in the car park to do that with. Otherwise, I'd have been doubly screwed. And I basically, right, so I get, anyone that's listening isn't going to see this because I'm like, anyway, I pick the thing up and I throw this brick and it bounces off the window. And I thought, what?
You got a Tesla? You got a
I
Tesla
was like, what?
Cybertruck?
Have I got like a Cybertruck or something? Like, is it like bulletproof? This is weird. And it makes like a bit of a dent. And I'm like, I must have just not thrown it hard enough. So I literally then, I was like, right, okay. I picked this thing up and I launched it like as hard as I possibly could. And it like, I distinctly remember just like watching this brick like just tumble through the air, go straight through the window. And obviously with it being, quote, safety glass, right? So in someone's stupid idea, they thought, let's make safety glass shatter into like 4 billion pieces.
Yeah.
Which like I understand because it means if you have a crash and it shatters, it's not going to like cut your head off or whatever.
I see.
You know what I mean? That's the whole point of it.
Yeah.
But I remember watching a Top Gear episode a while ago, or like years ago, and Jeremy Clarkson being like, why does it shatter into like 4 billion pieces? Why does it not just shatter into 2 pieces that you can just then pick up and put on a... But anyway. Yeah. So I threw it through, and it like lands in the sort of footwell of the van. And it's sort of like broken the seat and done bits and pieces. So I do that. And then I'm like, right, okay. So then I climb through the window, which was doubly stupid thinking about it because I could have just lifted the lock and opened the door, right? So I thought,
come on, you didn't. Did you just fucking lose your mind out there? What the fuck?
So I climbed through the window, right? And then I've like cut my leg because I caught it on a bit of glass. There's blood pouring down my leg. I'm in the van. I'm thinking, how did this all go so wrong?
10 minutes ago, I was having a lovely evening.
Mate, the phrase going from 0 to 100 basically describes that entire evening, right? It goes from like me sat in the van chilling with a beer, watching the sunset, to me now at 10 o'clock at night when it's dark with a head torch, cleaning all this fucking glass out of my van with this dustpan and brush, right? Not only did I have to clean it out of the van, I also then had to clean it out of the car park. So like I had to scrape a load of the car park, basically the dust and stuff, with the glass into this bag. By the time I'd done that, I think I'd messaged like a couple of people about it. But by the time I'd done that, it was like 11 o'clock, half 11. So, and then I can't remember what happened next now. I think I then sort of got into bed and was like, right, I'll give myself a few minutes now. So I did that, and then I was sat there, and I kind of went, right, I'm gonna have to ring Autoglass. And at the time, I was insured for another insurer that I'm not with now. And I thought, I was with the same insurer that I was with another van that I had the window smashed on. I didn't smash that window, someone else smashed that on me, it was the rear one. And I got that paid for by the insurance. Now, that other van I had was like a car van, it was a Berlingo, so it was like car windows and stuff. That was classed as the car, whereas obviously now I had a van. So then, being at like 11 o'clock at night, nowhere was open, so I had to ring, company to come and fix the window. Anyway. Yeah. So I rang them, and this was like 11 o'clock, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm insured through these people, and they said, oh, we can't do it through the insurance. So that was that point where I immediately knew that it was going to be more than however much, because the insurance wouldn't pay out for it. So then he was like, what is it, passenger side? Yeah, passenger side done. Okay, yeah, fine, whatever, it's going to be £530. And I sort of sat there and went, I'm sorry, what? I was like, surely not. It's a side window. Like, I would expect that for like a front or rear.
The
windscreen,
me too.
or like the rear window, not like a side window. I'm like, what? How much does glass cost?
Yeah.
It's like ridiculous. So then I was like, right, okay, yeah, fine, pay for it, whatever. They could come on Tuesday. This was Sunday night, by the way. Anyway, so I go to sleep. It's 12 o'clock, right? And I start hearing pattering on the roof. And I wake up. Oh, it's raining. Oh. And obviously I got an open window.
You got no window now.
So then I had to get one of the curtains of the van and like spread it across the front thing and like basically like cover it all up. So there was that. And then I drove to work on the Monday, and then I had to do a similar thing.
Tail between your legs.
Yeah. Looking like a bit of an idiot. And I had people being like, why is your front windows open? And I'm like, it's not open. It's not, it's smashed.
It's not open, love. It's gone.
Not open. Yeah, it's gone. It's literally all over the car park now.
We had to get rid of it.
It's actually in a bag. So Yeah, so then I had that. That was fun. And then, then I obviously had the ULEZ stuff in London with the emissions. That was always good. Luckily, work paid for a bit of that. But then I had this clutch and flywheel, which was the most recent thing. Bearing in mind, I'm going away on a trip, right, in like 3 weeks. So the only thing that it's got to have left before it goes away is its MOT. So I'm like...
Oh my God, surely.
That's the week before I go as well, right? So
Oh my
I'm
God.
literally like, fingers crossed, there's nothing that could, possibly happen. But yeah, so I'm going on a trip to Germany in like 3 weeks, climbing, and I am taking the van.
Yeah.
And I'm praying. I'm
Yeah.
hoping and praying. Luckily, it's going back to the motherland, right? So it's going back to where it came from. So hopefully, if anything happens, it'll be easy to fix. But
They'll just turn their head. They'll go, it's not ours.
they'll probably, they'll be like, no, I don't know what. Yeah, I have no idea what you're saying, mate.
What the hell is this?
Yeah, so my bank account's taken a bit of a hit these past few months. I'll be totally honest.
My goodness. Well, I tell you what then, let's replenish those coffers right now with an ad break.
What's up, you winners? Thank you for listening to the Two Beasts podcast so far. Just to let you know, this podcast is sponsored by Maven Visuals Ltd. Maven Visuals is the go-to for video production here in the southwest of England. So if your business needs fresh, engaging video content that will be sure to bring new sales into your company, then don't hesitate to get in touch at www.mavenvisuals.com. Back to the podcast.
Oh, thank goodness for that. Thank goodness for that. All that money that you've pissed away, we've now just we've just got back.
Maven Visuals can help us out.
The good viewers have now bought tons of video services from Maven Visuals, which has saved Ollie. It's saved Ollie. Look at him. He looks marginally happier now. The smile's slightly less painful.
Yeah. I'm just forgetting about it and working twice as hard to gain, more.
I'm on $6,000 less a year than you, and we have the same amount of money at the minute.
Yeah. Goes to show you where that $6,000 has gone. I can actually point the camera and show you it's out there.
Yeah, and you had a £1,000 bonus in that time.
Oh, I did, yeah.
So you should have at least 1,000 more than me.
But I don't.
But you don't?
No.
Because you...
Oh, and then to add insult to injury, my bike needed a new rear tyre, so then I had to pay for that, which then turned out that nowhere could get a hold of said rear tyre, so I had to get 2 new tyres on front and back, or front. I had to replace the front and the back to make sure the tread was the same and that they were the same tyres. So.
Why did you want to learn to ride a bike? What made you make that choice?
So, when I was younger, my dad rode motorbikes, and he was obsessed, and he used to take me to races. So I've been to like Superbikes and I haven't been to MotoGP, but I went to British Superbikes, loads of motocross races. Bikes have just always been in my... Like, I've loved cars. I've always loved cars, and cars are great, but bikes, there was just some like special thing. I think because Dad had one, and I always used to see him go out and his levers and everything else. And he had sports bikes. He had an R6 and an R1, which is pretty they're pretty feisty bikes, especially back in those days. They were like top of the range, right? And that's always been a thing in my mind that I've wanted to do. It's always been like a childhood dream that I've wanted to achieve. And I think it kind of was at a point where... When did I start? Like end of last year, I got the bike and I got my CBT done. So it was kind of, I basically had gone, right, I'm at a point now where I'm financially pretty set. Like I've got enough money to not feel like I'm
taking an unnecessary gamble.
Yeah, totally, yeah. And with the whole stuff that's gone on with the van, like although I've spent a lot of money, it hasn't affected me in a way where I've been like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to afford like bills this month, all that sort of stuff, because, I'm in a very fortunate position through sheer hard work and all that
I don't
sort of
think
stuff,
I've ever felt like that.
No?
No, I don't think I ever felt like that. I remember the first time I had like $5,000 in my bank. It wasn't it was work bank.
Yeah.
I was like, shit.
Yeah.
I've made it. Now I just don't feel safe ever.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? I think like, especially in nowadays, today's day and age, recently when we've had this cost of living crisis go through the roof and everything's a bit uncertain, it's quite like, it can be a little bit panicky. But I think because I'm very good and we're pretty good with money, I like to think, and I've got like a whole list of breakdown of every month, and I'm not one of those people that goes out and spends loads of money.
You know what I mean? Good with money, you're just not good with driving.
No. Which makes you wonder why I learned to ride a bike. Somebody went, right, well, I'm not good. It's not that I'm not good with driving. I'm a good driver.
No, you just pass through fucking ULEZ zones, get speeding tickets, you don't read the parking signs at the parking
Do we
areas.
want to talk about your speeding fine as well? Because I think you got one pretty recently.
The one that happened 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago? I thought you got one
the
recently.
only one in hundreds of thousands of miles that I got for going 33 or 34 in a 30 at 5 in the morning on a long straight road in Plymouth as I was going to the train station in order to avoid fines in London. We can talk about that one if you want.
No, it's all right.
Okay.
Anyway, back to the topic at hand. What were we saying? Bikes. So I kind of got to a point where I was like, I can afford this. Like, I'd done all the calculations and stuff and been like, yeah, this is fine. So I was like, right, now's the time. And I wasn't, being like 25, I felt like I wasn't at a point where I was like, 17, 18, where you're still a bit like, still a bit dicey, learning things and all that sort of stuff. So, I was like, let's do it, take the plunge and go from there.
You say that about 17, 18-year-olds though, like, they like won wars, 17, 18-year-olds.
Won wars?
Like, yeah, like you put them in the army. They're trusted with hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of fucking explosives.
They certainly are.
And they're absolutely, they do. But like a great example is the place where I learnt to skydive. At the same time I learnt to skydive, the instructor's son started and he was like 16, 17.
Excuse me.
I think 16 is when you can start to do your AFF course.
Yeah.
And so he did it like as soon as he turned 16, obviously, because his dad is like an expert skydiver, his granddad was an expert skydiver, all that kind of stuff. And now, like fast forward a year on, the last time I went, he was doing all the jump master, he was in charge of the plane, and and I trusted him 100% with everything. 10 years younger than me, he's a kid, literally a kid, but he was given responsibility and trusted with important stuff that was life or death. And he figured it out because he's smart. And I think a lot of kids would do that. I think a lot of kids would be like that. A lot of 16, 17, 18.
Yeah, totally. I think but it's all individual, isn't it? Right? Like you can get kids, and we were probably the same at that age in terms of like pretty sensible and pretty, on it and, mentally all focused on what they were doing. But then you could say that about, Christ, people in like their 30, 40 still haven't got their shit together.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Tons
so then it's like, it's totally individual. And I think with the bike thing, it was more so a case of, I think it was maybe now that I think about it, it was less so an age thing and more so a financial position thing.
Yeah.
In terms of, because what I never wanted to do was have the bike as a mode, my only mode of transport. I never wanted it to feel like I had to learn to ride it because that was all I had, right?
Yeah.
I always wanted it as like a second vehicle option where I could enjoy it because that's what obviously my dad did. And so I had to get to that point financially where I could afford that and have it as a toy rather than as a a mode of transport that I desperately needed. So that was probably more the case of it. But, you see a lot of people that ride around on motorbikes and it's pretty like, it's pretty scary, some people. And the scariest thing is when you do a CBT, which is like the learner course. You don't have to, you can do that at 16 and you don't have to do a theory test. You don't have to do like barely anything to then go out on the road, which is mad given what you have to do in order to be able to drive a car on the road. Like, and a bike is like way more dangerous than, driving a car because you haven't got a big metal box around you, right? So it's pretty mad in terms of what they allow you to do.
Do you think that's just because a car, you could kill more other people?
Yeah.
Whereas a bike, you're really only going to kill yourself.
Pretty much, yeah. You can cause way more damage to other people with a car, but yeah, to yourself, a bike is way more dangerous. Way more dangerous. But I had that. My mum asked me, funnily enough, she was like, "Do you feel more vulnerable? Do you feel vulnerable when you're on a bike?" And I'm like, "Not really. I don't feel vulnerable. I feel like it makes you a better driver, because it makes you way more hyper aware of what's going on around you, and like, you immediately start to see other people who are driving who take no notice of what's going on around them. They're like spatial awareness and their visual awareness because they're probably distracted by their phone or their sat nav or their child smearing jam all over the back seats or something. Like
children bringing jam to the car.
I don't know.
I just wouldn't allow that.
They might do. Peanut butter jelly sandwich.
I wouldn't allow that.
Smear it all around.
I wouldn't allow jam in my car.
No. You'd allow two dogs though, wouldn't you?
If you want to have
muddy up the back of
dogs
the
have
car.
got to get to and from the forest. They've got to get to and from walkies.
Yeah.
That's just a responsibility as a man.
Well, it depends
to get
upon
them there.
It depends upon whether you're walking them close or whether you're walking them far away, right?
Yeah, but if you're walking close, you just got to be on a fucking lead, innit?
Yeah.
It's going to be a bull's walk.
Yeah, that is true for them.
You don't want to give them a bull's walk.
A bull's walk?
Yeah.
Nobody wants a bull's walk. It's not fun, is it?
You bikers, though, you don't care, do you? You don't care, do you?
What do you mean?
You don't feel fear. You're right. You don't feel fear. You don't feel anything, do you? You don't care. You're just like, yeah, well, I'm invincible, man.
I could say the same thing about skydivers, right?
Oh, we are invincible.
Oh, yeah.
We are.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No. Well, with skydiving, the thing is, the statistics of a parachute going wrong, I believe, are 1 in 10,000. Now, bear in mind that you have 2 parachutes, and the reserve. I'm not sure about the statistics on a reserve opening. I honestly don't know if there's that much data on them because they don't happen. 10,000 jumps, you get 1 reserve opening. You don't have a lot of data. You don't have millions of jumps.
Probably pretty unlikely that reserve fails, though, right?
But even if it's like the same again, I think it'd be slightly better odds that one opening because it's spring powered and it.
But it's also that that's probably the biggest risk of something happening, isn't it? With skydiving, I guess, is like your chute failing.
Yeah.
But does that not also? Do you not have some form of control with that?
I think the chute failing is what everyone worries about. I don't think by a mile that's the worst thing that can go wrong. I don't think it's the biggest risk at all.
No.
Absolutely not. The reasons people end up getting hurt in skydiving is, first of all, the thing I never realised about skydiving is it's a team sport. This is something I never thought of. Because when you're doing it as when you're a skydiving virgin, all you can think about is, oh my God, I'm jumping out of a plane. Oh my God, I'm flying through the air. Once you've done that a couple times, you don't feel that's not really a big deal anymore. Then you don't get as much excitement out of that.
Yeah.
Once you feel confident, you feel like you know that parachute's going to open, and it just becomes like a guarantee, quote unquote, even though obviously it's not a guarantee. Then that fun is limited. You might do a couple barrel rolls in the sky and maybe try a backflip, but the real fun then comes in. This is just something I'm just tapping the beginnings of this. I'm on like 27 jumps, and the guys that are at that airfield have done thousands. I'm an absolute scrub. I'm level 1 novice.
A noob.
But
in the world
some of them
gaming.
will jump with me, and then we're trying to chase each other in the sky and like link and all that. That is so much fun. But that's where a lot of the danger is. If you see a skydiving injury, it's because they got knocked out on the way down. Someone crashed into them. Like my instructor had a really bad collision doing a big formation thing. He showed me the video. Like they just mistimed the openings basically. Like one opened a little later than he should have, and therefore he crashed into each other in the sky in the canopy.
Yeah.
Land in the canopy, people show off, do swoops in front of their girlfriends, all that, end up a puddle on the concrete. That's a story that I've heard. Like things like that. It's the canopy control is really where the danger is.
Yeah.
Not the fact that whether the canopy is going to be there or not.
Yeah, it's like because if you get like interlocked with someone else, that's like it's pretty bad.
And anything like if it's a cloudy day or if the winds pick up out of nowhere, and then you start getting drifted off, you end up in the trees or. That's where the danger is. The actual jumping is really, really not. That's the thing everyone worries about. But
yeah,
that's what they told us on ground school, and they were absolutely right. That is exactly right. But why did we bring that up? You said, well, yeah, think you're invincible. If you think about from the parachute opening perspective, 1 in 10,000 chance that it's not going to work properly. Not that it's not going to work. You always imagine. When you think of a parachute not opening, you think you pull the cord and nothing happens and you just continue plummeting.
Yeah.
Even in the 1 in 10,000 chance you get a MAU, it could be like the fact that there's a line over or something. So you're still coming down gently, but you're coming down slightly faster than normal, which means you could get injured or...
Yeah.
So it's like...
Or your chute comes out and it's not like opening properly.
It's all tangled and mangled.
And,
it could still slow you down.
Yeah.
It's still not going to be a complete...
disaster.
Obviously, it's not going to save you once you hit the floor, but you do have a couple of extra seconds to maybe figure out what the hell's going on and cut away and Then you've got the reserve parachute, which worst case scenario surely is another 1 in 10,000. All of those are packed by instructors, so they're likely to be done better because you think again we pack our own parachutes once we've landed. So if we're like in a rush to get on the next lift or whatever, we make a stupid mistake, like that's also plays a role.
But that's what I was going to bring up. Was that like human error, basically,
you
that
just
variable.
You get cocky, don't you? And you just you whack it in. After a while, you've jumped on some dodgy rigs, and they've all opened before. So why is this one going to be any different now?
Yeah.
And most of the time, you're right. Like apparently, you could. I've not seen this, and I certainly wouldn't do it. But apparently, you can just chuck a parachute in a plastic bag and just jump out of your open. Like it's pretty well designed in that sense.
Yeah.
So, but 1 in 10,000 multiplied by 1 in 10,000, it's like 1 in whatever it is, 10 million or 1 in a million shot. That, and even experienced seasoned skydivers, you're talking like a couple thousand at jumps. You're not talking about millions.
Yeah,
no one's done millions, to the best of my knowledge.
No.
So, absolutely the most dangerous part of me going skydiving is the hour, 10-minute drive to the airfield, to my mind.
I mean, it makes sense. You probably, like you say, you're probably way more likely to get involved in a car accident than you are to do that.
Yeah.
Mostly because you've got not natural forces working against you. Like you were saying, like wind picks up or like, something like that. You've got a lot of like other human beings. Yeah. That's where the big danger lies, isn't it?
Yeah, especially at bigger airfields. I mean, luckily our lifts are only like 4 people jumping at once, so
that's all right. It's not as bad.
It's not, and as long as you got a good jump master, which is what that kid was doing. As long as you've got a good jump master that says, hey, leave 7 seconds, you go first, and knows the weight distribution. It's stuff anyone can learn, but as long as you follow those basic rules, you've got so much separation. It's only really when you I don't know. It's pretty safe as far as things go. Way safer than driving a car. The biggest risk is inexperience, like anything, and lack of confidence. Like, anytime I've messed up a landing, it's because I had a bad landing before, and now I'm like really worried about it.
Or like overconfidence, I guess you could probably put into the
overconfidence is where it starts.
So that's the biggest thing with motorbikes. Like people get way too overconfident, like way too soon. They think that they know the machine, they know like how to do things, or they've watched it. Today's day and age, it's like, I watched a YouTube video, like taught me how to ride a bike. Yeah. So then people get way too overconfident, and then they, fly around a bend too fast and they end up in the hedge. So.
Oh, I see plenty of them. They're all the thing that annoys me about bikers. Not everyone, but there's a lot of overconfidence in biking, and a lot of just crazy maneuvers. Like they're a smaller thing. Yeah. They whiz around. They cut up inside lanes, which is not normal and all that. And I get that as drivers you're supposed to be aware of that, but it's not.
But it's not just the case of doing it. And I know exactly what you're saying, and I totally agree. There is people that do these stupid maneuvers where they go like, they do like super close overtakes or whatever, but you kind of, again, that's the difference between the people that probably have the most accidents and the people that don't, is people that only focus on themselves as a biker. And I feel like going back to talking about, the reason why you're allowed to do that as a kid is because it only affects you rather than a lot of other people. But actually, you could cause like quite a serious injury. Not only would you affect yourself, but you could affect a lot of other people. Yeah. And that's like anything. It's like it's like any vehicle, right? But yeah, I think that's where a lot of bikers fall down, is that they sort of have this overconfidence and like, it's only me. Like I'll just do it and it'll be fine, But it's like, it's who that's going to then impact. You got to think about the fact that you are a smaller machine. So cars, lorries, whatever, trucks aren't going to see you. That's the biggest thing. Very hard to see half the time.
Well, with trucks, like they've got all those labels around the side. If I can't see my mirrors, I can't see it. And as a driver, this is a huge machine. It's less likely to be able to stop. It can't stop as easy. Yeah. Like, it's my job here. You wouldn't cut in front of a lorry. No. You wouldn't make a lorry slam its brakes on. That would be really if you did, you'd be stupid.
Yeah, you would, yeah.
I feel like bikes have that same responsibility to cars and vehicles bigger than you. Yeah. You give way to the bigger vehicle.
Yeah, for sure.
That's always been the case.
Yeah. Yeah, and just be like a decent, like just be a decent human being, and just know that your actions are going to affect other people.
Don't drive like a lunatic and then post on your Facebook banner, have your Facebook cover photos, watch bikes, and pretend you're an activist. Yeah. When you're actually a knob. Yeah, that's what frustrates me.
Yeah, totally, and I get that. I get that, and that's the same with anything, isn't it? Like people who just push the boundaries too far for their own personal. Because they're like, it's only me. Be all right. It's only me.
We've all done it.
Like, well, yeah, totally, yeah.
We've all done it. The thing that's funny though is I was thinking about this the other day. People driving up my ass and all that. Like, I used to be like that. When someone was going slow. I still am sometimes. I'm not perfect. But I generally don't now. Like, if someone's going slow, unless it's, like, really ridiculous, then I'll be, like, motioning them to just pull over. Especially, like, 10 cars behind you, that kind of thing. It still gets frustrating. But when someone's going, like, 50 and a 60, it's not the end of the world. I do that.
Yeah.
Especially when you don't know when you're going.
Yeah.
You don't know when the corner's coming up. You know, it's reasonable. I used to drive everywhere as fast as I possibly can. I'm still kind of like that when I'm on my own. Like, I still want to just get there, and you know, I'm not a granny driver. I'm just not. So when someone's driving up my ass, I know they're a knob, because it's a pretty big guarantee.
Yeah.
And there's only one every time. Like, if you're a granny, some people could be driving up your ass and they're soft, and you know they don't want any confrontation. They're just annoyed because you're going slow. The only people that every time someone drives up my ass, if I like brake check them, you know how some people brake check and then they get away with it, like the other person goes, and then just drives off, whatever. Every time I brake check someone, they want to fight. They're like, they start like doing dangerous overtakes, pretending to drive into me and all that shit. It's like, brother.
Ego, innit?
Come on.
You're just aggravating someone's ego.
How many times on the motorway has it happened to you where someone's decided they're going to try and threaten to drive into you?
All the time, yeah. The motorway, and actually doing as much motorway miles as I do, like every week, you really start to realise like that's where the idiots are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people just have no concept of how a motorway works, or how, like, you know, especially at like touristy times, you know, like you're watching these people and they're sat, like, you know, like the classic thing is them sat like in the middle lane and they're not moving, and you're like, mate, there's a left lane for a reason. Like, what?
Yeah.
Why? You know what I mean? Like, the middle lane is not. That's another overtaking lane, as is the outside lane. Like, you don't need to be, you know. And yeah, I mean, it's funny on the motorway because me and my mate have said this multiple times in terms of, like, you can. I mean, I've been overtaken by some like unbelievable speeds of people on the motorway, as probably most people have. And these cars can be utter shit boxes. Yeah. Literally, like, I'm talking like 1 litre pieces of shit. Yeah. And they just like zoom past you. And you're like, how are bits not like flying off the car? How is it not like disintegrating as it's rolling along, you know? But yeah, motorways for sure are the worst in terms of like where you find the worst driving, I would say.
The thing is, I think a lot of those people just haven't been humbled yet.
Probably, yeah. I think that's the majority of most human beings when they get overconfident, is they just haven't been humbled, or they haven't like taken an L or whatever, you know. Like,
I used to be the exact same. I remember when Dad started lorry driving, he started doing the speed limits in his car as well. Like not even the speed limits, but like driving like a granny, like what I would consider a granny. Like he'd be that guy doing 40, on the Beer Austin Road or something. I'd be like, come on, man, you don't have to be that fucking safe. We're going to be fine. But then, you know, I thought I knew better. Like most young people, I thought I knew better. And then I got into an accident at 10 mile an hour because I was eating blueberries on the M5.
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly it's like, oh, this can happen to anyone. And you do have to actually be aware. Like, you just get 10 years of no accidents, you just think, you think you're invincible. Yeah. And then suddenly something happens, and then you see all these other people, and you're like, I used to be like that. Like, I know what they're thinking. I know that they think, you pussy.
It's not going to happen to me.
You're a granny. Like, I know what I'm doing behind the wheel. Just takes one. I always think this on the motorway. Like, you see dead animals all the time. I just think at any point, I'm doing it down this motorway. It doesn't matter really if I'm going 70. It's still going to be like a shit thing to happen. An animal could jump out and completely end everything. Just knock my car off the road. A tyre blowout. You ever think about that? You ever just be driving and just think, I do. I could blow out now. That'd be me. That'd be me finished.
Yeah, done. Yeah.
And they just don't. They haven't got there yet.
It doesn't happen.
But what's fun? The reason I brought this up was because it encourages me, because there's a lot of times where I feel like I'm behind on stuff, or I haven't caught up, or people are doing ahead of me, and you know, you get in that like comparison mode. Yeah. But I think a lot of these guys that haven't had that yet, that haven't had that maturity step up, because this has only really been in the last 12 months for me, like since my accident. It's really kind of, okay, I need to grow up now. These guys are, like you say, 35, 40, 45, 50. and they still haven't got there. Mm-hmm. They still haven't reached that stage of maturity yet, which encourages me. Mm-hmm. It makes me think, well, at least I'm on to something. Like at least I'm thinking in some way. Like they're 15 years behind now on that regard.
Yeah.
And when they have an accident, they could have their kids in the car. I learned it before I had kids.
Correct.
And a wife.
Yeah, it makes you think like actually having this stuff happen to you when you're younger is way better. It's way better, you know. And actually, funny story. When I was driving to Torquay the other day to go climbing down the A38, and there was was it a squirrel or basically something ran. So I was in like the right hand lane, and then there was obviously like a dual carriageway, so someone in the left hand lane, and they were like just in front of us as we were coming down. Yeah. And this like mouse or I think it was a squirrel actually just pegged it out of the central reservation. Yeah. And you know, and you just think like he had that thought in his mind. He was thinking, I'm going to do it. Like, I've got this. It's no problem. I've just done the other side. He must have just done the other side, otherwise it wouldn't have been in the central reservation, right? She's like, I've done that side. I've fucking got this, right? Runs out, does our car. Literally, I just watch it happen almost like in slow motion. Boom. This car just comes through, and I'm like, he's not going to make it.
He's gone.
He's gone. And he just gets hammered. Absolutely hammered. I think he might have actually gone like through the middle, so he did well on the front wheels, and then the rear wheel just ended him. And I just thought, I've just watched that.
That's sad.
I've just watched a life form just leave this planet.
I say what I saw recently. This was funny. It was sad, but it was funny. I've been seeing loads of magpies. I guess it's magpie season now.
Yeah.
And I try not to be superstitious, but as you know, the last like 6-12 months, I've been dabbling a little bit more. Like I've been leaning a little bit more to like religious ideas.
Some higher power.
I realise that there's certain things about it that makes a ton of sense to me. Like I'm slowly getting. I'm not going to church on Sundays.
I'd agree. I'd agree that there's like something. There's definitely something. You feel it.
So I'm not trying to be superstitious, but when I see a magpie, I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Just one magpie. Okay, well, I'm ready for it. You know, like.
Do you do anything when you do that? Because my nan always taught me to.
I don't salute.
Salute and spit. It's what my nan and my dad always taught me.
No, I don't.
When you see one, it's a.
No, I don't do that. What I do is I say, all right, God, I'm ready. That's what I do. I don't cower to the superstition, but I'm aware that there's very possible that something bad is about to happen. Yeah. And so I see it more as like a sign. I suppose if I'm getting really deep now, I see it more as a sign from God that I need to be ready.
Yeah. On guard.
But this is what's confused me. Recently I've seen 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and I'm like, just fucking make up your mind.
Yeah.
Like one way or another. Like, is this
Do I need to be ready? Do I not need to be ready?
Are you telling me that there is joy in the pain? Is this what the metaphor is? What are you telling me, Lord? But this one time, I think I was heading to Cardiff, and I saw this magpie come down, and he was going to land on, he was going to fly low, swoop low, and he just bombed his head off the central reservation. He just came in, dive bomb, just went, bong, and just scat onto luckily I was in the slow lane and he landed in the third lane, and I thought,
was that it done?
Fuck,
was he done?
I don't know what happened to him.
Oh mate, bro.
Because I was zooming past.
Yeah.
You know, I was going 72 mile an hour.
He just tried to dive. He
just dived for it, just clong. That was that. He was gone.
I often think what goes through their heads though, you know, like with that squirrel, what was he thinking? He must have just thought, I've got this.
Yeah.
He was just thinking, yeah, mate.
He was hyped up.
Yeah, he was overconfident. Yeah. He thought he could do it.
Like a World War I trench, like all the guys in World War I when they were going to go charge, they're like, yeah, we're going to make it, boys. We're going to be the ones, and then they just get fucking slotted, and that's that.
Yeah, this squirrel. I just thought, you know what I thought of actually? You ever seen Over the Hedge, that kids film back in the day?
No, I haven't.
So there's basically a squirrel that's just it's just off his nut the entire film, right? It's like an animated thing, but he's like Hammy the squirrel. He's like off his nut. He's like proper scatty. I just thought that. I just watched Hammy just get obliterated.
Yeah, you can't give him names.
No.
You have to treat him.
No, that made it worse, actually, to be fair. Then while I was trying to climb and, send my project, I was just about Hammy the squirrel, man. I was just thinking how he died. You know what I mean?
Oh, I ate 2 pigeons once at the same time.
That's impressive.
It was impressive.
Whereabouts? As in on your car?
It's like Shropshire, yeah, like on the windscreen. Yeah.
Oh, they just bounced off your windscreen?
Both of them bounced off. Dum-dum. Luke was in the car.
So that's quite a good thing for, 2 birds with 1 stone.
It was
Except
2
it's
birds, 1
2 birds
windscreen.
with 1 windscreen. Yeah.
And on that note, we'll have an ad break.
Hello there, champions. Hey, are you getting married soon? Or do you know somebody that's getting married soon? So outside of this podcast, I am a wedding videographer full-time, and Maven Visuals Wedding Films is my company and also the sponsors of today's podcast. So if you want that guy from that podcast to come and actually film your wedding for you, then all you have to do is visit www.mavenvisualsweddingfilms.com. And if you mention that you're a Two Beasts listener in the consultation, then you will get 10% off whatever package you choose. All right, see you then. Back to the podcast.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And if you are getting married, that would be great if you consider Maven Visuals Wedding Films. We just, Luke was here because we actually just filmed a wedding the other day. Maybe we'll talk about that in the next episode because we are going to sort of wrap this one up now. We're going to wrap this one up.
Yep.
We're trying to
Probably
keep these...
tickling an hour, right?
Yeah, we've restarted the cameras twice. The cameras have a 30-minute... 2 of the cameras have a 30-minute record limit. So I try and I keep an eye on the phone, and when it gets to 26, 27, I start trying to find an out or try and... that's why sometimes it's been quite an abrupt segue into whatever, because I don't want to feel like I'm cutting you off, but also there's no point talking if there's no cameras going.
Very true.
So that was episode 2 of the Two Beast podcast. I feel like we're starting to get a little bit of a flow here. Mm-hmm. I still think that there's been a marginal improvements from episode 1.
Yeah.
Our camera angles are good. We got our light now up, which is it's a bit of a monster light, so it's going to be a pain in the ass, but
that's what we do.
It's worth it.
To bring you this content.
It's worth it.
That is what we do.
We're going to be here for 98 more episodes.
Yeah.
At least. And we have 1 in the bag already, so we've got to film 97 more. The one with Luke, I don't want to really big it up now because there's going to be 3 weeks more of episodes before we get to Luke's one, but the one with Luke was really, really good. We talked about business, we talked about how he's dealt with certain failures, which I've never really heard Luke talk about that before.
No, and it was good for me because I've never really spoken to him in that regard.
Yeah.
So I got to learn a bit more. Which was
to be honest, I think that's the most you two have spoke in properly in a while.
Probably is, yeah.
Because normally when Luke comes around, we end up talking video stuff, and
I just get bored.
you don't know.
I
you
just
don't care.
sort of zone out. Yeah.
But anyway, there is some stuff in the next episode that we're going to cover. And again, we might end up saying that we're going to cover stuff now and then go on a completely different tangent. This isn't what we were anticipating talking about at all.
No, but it's become quite, as I was saying, it's become quite a vehicular episode.
It's a vehicular episode, yeah.
It's quite good.
And hopefully if you're having troubles with your car, then you know that you're not alone.
Yeah, man.
This shit
Definitely
happens.
not alone.
This shit happens, man.
Yeah.
And if you've got 2 back-to-back ULEZ charges, maybe just do your admin. You know, you don't have to pay him.
100%. 100%.
You don't have to.
Just be on top of what you're doing.
Just don't.
Yeah. Your personal admin just needs to be on point. That's all it was. I had a fucked up day of personal admin. That's all it was.
Dad was gonna listen to this and laugh at me preaching personal admin because he thinks I'm a personal admin hand grenade. I don't believe that's true.
What a phrase!
I don't believe that's true.
That's a great phrase. I like that.
That's what he calls me.
Yeah, personal admin hand grenade.
I sent him something the other day about, I forgot to do something, so now this, and he just sent me a gif of a grenade rolling into a room. Anyway, thank you so much for joining. I actually, before I wrap up, I was going to say what we're going to talk about next time. Next time we're going to talk, I think you have a little business idea that you want to talk about, and we're going to discuss that and just chit-chat. And
go into a bit of businessy stuff.
It could be you've witnessed the start of a podcast. It might be that you witnessed the start of a new business venture from Ollie, which would be great. And we'll chit-chat about other stuff and other nonsense and all the rest of it. So thank you very, very much for joining the Two Beast podcast. Remember to subscribe to the podcast, share it with your friends and family. You are our friends and family at the minute because you're the very first people watching this podcast. So the best thing that you can do to help us is just share a wee reel every now and again. You know, we're going to be posting sort of a good amount to our reel page. So just share the odd one. You don't have to share them all because otherwise you'll annoy people. But share the odd one. Tell your friends about it.
The ones that resonate with you the most, share.
Yeah, just whatever. Yeah, there'll be something in there that interests you. Yeah. And maybe just next time you're on a long journey, consider putting Two Beasts back on for another round.
Are we going to put out our socials or should we do that next time?
Well, we're on everything as Two Beast, letter 2 Beast podcast. So
You mean number 2?
the number 2.
Not the
Sorry,
letter 2.
not the letter 2.
The number 2.
That's right.
Number 2 Beasts podcast. Yeah, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook,
Yeah.
Threads. We will be on Threads.
We'll be on Threads.
TikTok.
At
some point. We'll jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah, I mean, it's yet to be determined. I feel like there's only 2 of us, so we'll only be able to split our attention to some stuff. But we'll over time we'll recommend the social medias that we actually use when we've actually got into the flow of posting. But anyway,
wrap it up.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. See you on the next one. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to the Two Beast podcast. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this podcast on whatever your preferred platform is. We'll see you next time. All the best.